In this video, we'll guide you through every step of how to integrate Google's Gemini API to a Voiceflow chatbot, making it easy and accessible for anyone because the whole process does not require any code. You can build the chatbot completely free and without token limit. If you use the Google AI Studio, there will be a limit of how many tokens can be used in the project, which can be easily reached if you need long answers. As shown in this one, I have used the tokens very quickly. You may ask why Gemini as we have ChatGPT? Well, with Google's Gemini API, your chatbot will be able to 1. Provide informative and accurate answers with the access to Google's vast knowledge base to deliver accurate and informative responses to user queries, enhancing the user experience. 2. Handle complex questions as your chatbot, which is empowered by Google's AI technology, can comprehend and respond to even the most complex user questions, fostering engaging conversations. 3. Stay up to date with real-time information. Your chatbot will harness the power of Google's real-time data to keep your chatbot up to date with the latest information, ensuring it always provides fresh and relevant responses. 4. Seamless integration with Voiceflow, allowing you to effortlessly add this powerful feature to your chatbot. With this integration, you'll take your chatbot to new heights, delivering an exceptional user experience and achieving remarkable results. Let's get started. First, let us enter the address, makersuite.google.com. On this website, we will get the Gemini API key and use it in our Voiceflow chatbot. The chatbot can send users' question to Gemini and get the answer back and show it to our users. Here, you will need your Gmail address or your phone number to log in. I am going to use my Gmail address and enter the Gmail address here. Then, click the Next button. On the next page, we will need the password. Go ahead and enter the password here, and press the Enter key. Now we are on the Google AI Studio page. You have the options to choose either to create new prompt or to get the API key. Let me just close this window. On the Google AI Studio, you can create new project by click on the New Prompt button on the left menu. You can also get the Gemini API key by clicking on the Get API Key button. I am going to show you a project I have created. In this project, I have built a chat prompt, which has used many tokens by only asking a few questions, and will reach the limit soon. If we use the API key, we will not have this problem. Let us click on the Get API Key button. If it is the first time, you will see the API key which you can make a copy. Here I already have generated the Gemini API key, which we can use later. At the bottom of the page, it shows how to test the API with the parameters, such as the post request URL with the Gemini API key as part of it, the header key value pair, and the data that will be passed to Gemini model containing the user question. Specifically, the chatbot API call will be in the post request, and send the user question to this URL of Gemini Pro model to generate the answer. We need to include our Gemini API key as the last part of the entire URL. API keys are important, and they are used to control access to APIs, monitor usage, and prevent unauthorized usage. They help API providers monitor and limit access to their services, ensuring security and accountability. Another part is the header section, which has a key value pair to define the data format. In this case, we use the application JSON format. The third part defines the data structure to be passed to the Gemini Pro model. It has contents and parts, containing the key of text, and the value, which is the user's question to be sent to the Gemini. Next, let us move to Voiceflow, which is a platform we can use to build a chat bot with no code. You may consider Gemini LLM model as the backend where all the data are processed there, and Voiceflow Chatbot is the front end where the user can interact with the UI, and input his question and get back the answer from the Gemini. If you are not familiar with Voiceflow yet, Voiceflow is a powerful platform for building chatbots. It provides no-code or low-code interface with intuitive drag-and-drop interface, which makes it accessible to users of all technical backgrounds. Voiceflow offers a suite of conversational design tools that streamline the process of creating natural and engaging chatbot interactions. Voiceflow allows you to deploy your chatbots across multiple platforms, including websites, messaging apps, social media, and voice assistants. Voiceflow integrates advanced NLP capabilities that enable chatbots to understand and respond to user inputs in a natural and human-like manner. The platform's NLP engine processes user requests, extracts relevant information, improving the overall user experience. As you can see, they have a chatbot on their web page, where users can use to ask different questions and get answers instantly 24/7. I think the best is Voiceflow's user-friendly interface and powerful conversational design tools, and you can use free plan to test for your personal use. You do not need to have any coding experience to easily design and develop chatbots on Voiceflow. Let us click the Login button to log into our account. If you do not have an account yet, you can register and create one. Or, you can log on with your Google account. Let me click on the button to log in with my Google account. If you are the first time, you will be asked so you can choose to create a chat assistant. Since I have built a couple of chatbots, I can see all of them on the dashboard. I am going to use this chatbot, and click on the designer button to get on the canvas. For the first time, you may see a template on the canvas, and you can delete it. After that, you will see a canvas just looking like this one. On the left, there is a list of icons, which you can use to drag and drop different blocks to build your chatbot. You have the AI icon, which includes the responsive AI block and set AI block. You also have other blocks, such as text block, capture block, and API block, etc. Let us get the API block from the dev icon, and drag and drop it on the canvas. Let us change its name to Gemini API. We will need to change the request status to post, which matches the Gemini API's requirement. We will also need to put the Gemini API's URL beside the post. Let us go back to Google AI Studio to get the Gemini API URL. We select the Gemini API URL, and make a copy. We then go back to Voiceflow Canvas, and paste the URL on the API block. Next, we need to get the Gemini API key, and paste it as the last part of the URL. On the Google AI Studio, we can click on the API key, and click the copy button to make a copy. After this, we go back to Voiceflow Canvas, and paste it at the last of the API URL. Next step is to add a key value pair in the header section. In order to add a key value pair, we click on the plus button. We will populate it with the parameters from the Google AI Studio. Let us go back to the Google AI Studio. We select the content type and make a copy. This is the key, and we will paste it on the header section of the Voiceflow API block. In the header, the first box is where the key should locate. In order to get the value, we go back to Google AI Studio, and select the application/JSON, and make a copy. On the Voiceflow canvas, we paste it on the second text box of the header section of the API block. On the body section, we click on the plus icon. We click the radio button of raw. Here, we will put the command or prompt containing the user's question. On the Google AI Studio, we select the content part which will be sent by Voiceflow Chatbot, and received by the Gemini Pro model. We make a copy of it. After this, we go back to Voiceflow Canvas and paste it on the body section. The text is too long and hard to read. Let us do some formatting so it is more legible. As we have all the parameters, we are ready to test the API. We click on the Send Request button at the bottom right corner. We will see the response on the pop-up window. Depending on the complexity and length of the answer, the response time will be different. It looks like this one takes quite a long time. Finally, we see the 200 OK status, which means that the API call has been successful. Let us take a look at the response data which the chatbot received from the Gemini model. The candidates contain the answer from the Gemini. The prompt feedback has safety ratings, and category, and probability. We also have other data, such as the status code 200, which means success, and VF headers, and all other data. We will be focused on the candidates. This has the Gemini's answer. Let us expand it to see more details. The candidates is an array, and it has content and parts. The parts is also an array. The key value pair contains the text as the key, and the value is the answer from Gemini. We will need to extract the answer from the response data and display it to the user. We need to make sure we understand the data structure correctly in order to extract the answer. The candidates array contains the content key and parts array, which further contains the text key and the value of the Gemini answer. We may not need to care other part of the response data at this moment. We will show you how to extract the answer according to the data structure, and save the answer to a variable and finally display it to the user. In the next step, we will use a text block to ask the user to input his question. On the talk icon, drag and drop a text block onto the canvas. We arrange the blocks a little bit so they look more organized. Click on the text block, and we will let the user input his question. After the user enters his question, we will use a capture block to capture his question. We can drag and drop the capture block directly under the text block. We will capture the entire user reply. We will then save the captured user reply to a variable. We can create a variable by clicking on the Create New Variable button. Another way to create a new variable is to click on the variable button on the top menu. On the pop-up window, we can click on the plus sign on the variable section. We enter the variable name question, which will store the user input as the question to be sent to Gemini. Then, click on the Create Variable button to create the variable. I just closed the window because I have already created one. It shows here in the variable list. In the capture block, we will put the variable to save the user question. We delete the default variable and enter our variable question. After this, the user can input his question, which will be saved in the variable and then sent to Gemini. We connect the Start button with the text block, and connect the Capture block with the API block. Next, we will put the variable of user question in the API block, so every time when the user inputs his question, the API can send that question to Gemini. In the body section, we will select the question, and replace it with our variable. We will need to put the variable between the quotation marks. The variable name, question, should be in between of the curly braces. With all these settings, we now have a simple chatbot, which can let the user input his question and the question will be captured and saved in the question variable. The question will be sent to Gemini via the API. We can simply run a test to see if everything moves smoothly so far. If there is any error, we can correct that at the early stage. We can click the Start button to run a test. The bot says, "What is your question?" We enter the reply, "What is the distance between the Earth and the Moon?" It says, "API call successfully triggered." This means that the user input has been saved and successfully sent to the Gemini Pro API. So far everything works just fine, including the capture block to save the user question to the variable, and the API converts the variable to the question and sends it to Gemini. Next, what we are going to do is extract and save the Gemini answer in a variable, and display the answer to the user. On the Capture Response section, click the plus sign to add the boxes. According to the Gemini API response data structure, we enter the key to extract the answer value. The entire response from Gemini is saved in the response variable by default. The next level is the candidates array, where the Gemini answer is in the first element. We put 0 instead of 1 because it is 0-based index. The next level is the content key. It has a parts array. In the first element of the parts array, we have the text as the key, which we can extract the Gemini answer from. After we extract the answer, we need to save the answer in a variable. In the Apply to box, we can click the Create New Variable. As I have already done so, I will enter the variable name, which is answer. In this way, the Gemini returns the entire response to our chatbot, and we extract the answer and save it in the variable, which we can display to the user later. The next step is to use a text block to show the answer to the user. We drag a text block from the talk icon and drop it after the API block. Click on the text block, and we can enter the variable which has stored the Gemini answer. When the chatbot runs this text block, it will convert the variable to the real answer and display it on the screen to the user. Let us connect the API block with the text block. Now we are going to change the names of the two text blocks. One is named as question, and the other answer. So far, the chatbot can capture the user question and display the Gemini answer to the user. Let us run a test to see how everything goes. Click on the Start button. The chatbot asks the user to input his question. Again, we enter our question, "What is the distance between the Earth and the Moon?" The chatbot has sent the question to Gemini and displays its answer to the user. Now we can see the answer of the distance, which is a pretty big number as expected. This test run shows everything is working, such as the indication to ask the user to input the question, and capture the question and save it to a variable, and then send the question to Gemini, and receive the response from Gemini, and lastly extract the answer and display it to the user. The last step is to add buttons. We drag the buttons block from the listen icon and drop it under the answer text block. For the first button, we enter continue. So the conversation continues if the user clicks on this button. Next we click on the Add button to add the second button. For this button, we enter End Conversation, so the conversation ends if the user clicks on this button. On the Actions section of the first button, we click on the plus sign to add an action. Click on the Go to block. We can select a block we want the logic goes to after the user clicks on this button. Select Home, and then Question block. Now we have actually connected this button with the question block. The logic goes from this button to the question block after the user clicks this button. This means that we have a loop here. After displaying the answer to the user, if the user wants to ask the next question, he can click the Continue button, and the chatbot will go to the beginning question block to ask the user to input another question. The question will be sent to the Gemini to get the answer, which will be displayed to the user. For the second button, we will simply add an action and select the end, which will terminate the conversation if the user does not want to ask more question. Now the simple chatbot is ready. Let us click the Run button on the top right corner. Click the Run Test button. Let us ask Gemini to write a story of the magic backpack, which is the default question provided by Google AI Studio. Let us see what Gemini will give to us. It looks like it will be a long answer and takes a little more time. Usually we can see the blocks are moving, and it shows which block the program is processing. Here we go. We see the answer displaying here. Let us scroll up to the beginning of the story.
Once upon a time, in New York City, there lived a young girl named Alexia who possessed an extraordinary backpack. It wasn't just an ordinary backpack. It was a magical one, filled with endless possibilities. Every day, Alexia would embark on her extraordinary adventures with her trusty backpack as her loyal companion. The backpack, brimming with magic, had a compartment for every occasion.
It sounds pretty good. It has even more details at the later. We are going to ask another question. We click on the Continue button. This time, I am going to ask Gemini to give me the summary of novel Gone with the Wind, which is very famous and I am very interested in but do not have time to finish reading. Here is the summary from Gemini.
Gone with the Wind, written by Margaret Mitchell, is a sweeping epic set against the backdrop of the American Civil War and Reconstruction era. The novel tells the story of Scarlett O'Hara, a fiery and headstrong Southern belle, and her tumultuous journey through love, loss, and survival.
I like the summary, and I also can continue to read to learn more of the novel. Thumbs up. You may also ask Gemini to summarize other articles, such as scientific essays, research papers, which are usually very long and hard to finish reading. Let us continue. I am interested in Gemini, and wanted to know the development progress in the most recent news. I asked Gemini, tell me the top 5 Google's Gemini AI news in the past month. Here is Gemini's answer. It lists 5 pieces of news in a pretty good format, which is very legible. It gives the title, the date, and summary of each piece of news. For example, the first news reads,
Google AI's Gemini adopts quantum-like capabilities for diverse machine learning tasks. Release date, August 25, 2023. The Gemini AI model developed by Google AI has been enhanced with quantum-like capabilities that enable it to handle a wide range of machine learning tasks, including those traditionally challenging for classical AI models.
We can continue to read other news. The fourth news is very much interesting me, which is medical research with accurate protein structure predictions. This may accelerate drug discovery and advance our understanding of biological processes, which is pretty much needed in making human life better. Let us continue on the next question. As I am making this video, I would like to let Gemini help me to write an eye-catching title and description for a YouTube video showing how to integrate the Google's Gemini API with a Voiceflow Chatbot, so the video has popular keywords and the YouTube algorithm will recommend the video to the audience. Let us see how Gemini replies. It shows the title, Unleash the Power of Voice, Integrating Google's Gemini API with Voiceflow Chatbot. It looks like Gemini gives the title for a Voiceflow voice assistant instead of a web chatbot. I may improve this by specifying a web chatbot when asking Gemini. If you are interested, you may practice this using YouChatbot. Anyway, let us move to the next question. I want to buy a TV in this holiday season. I asked Gemini to recommend the top 5 TVs at the price of about $500. Gemini gives 5 TVs with their brand names, prices, and descriptions. It is in a good format. It is Hisense U6G 55-inch 4K ULED TV, with price around $450 and screen size 55 inches. The resolution is 4K UHD. We also can see TCL 55S 435 55-inch 4K Roku TV, Vizio 4K V-Series TV, Samsung 4K Crystal UHD TV, and LG 4K UHD TV with their price, and screen size, etc. This provides plenty of information I need. In the next question, as I will visit New York City, I will ask Gemini to give me a travel plan by asking Gemini to recommend an itinerary of 3-day visit of the most famous places in New York City. Gemini replies with 3-day visit. Each day has morning, afternoon, and evening visits. In the morning of the first day,
Visit the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island. Take a ferry to Liberty Island to see the iconic Statue of Liberty up close. Then, take another ferry to Ellis Island to learn about the millions of immigrants who passed through the skyway to America. Afternoon, explore Central Park. This sprawling park is home to many attractions, including the Bethesda Terrace, the Strawberry Fields Memorial to John Lennon, and the Central Park Zoo. Evening, see a Broadway show. New York City is home to some of the best theater in the world. Choose from a wide variety of shows, from musicals to plays to comedies.
We also can see the second and the third day itinerary. As I am very familiar with New York City, I have to say this is a very good travel plan. Do you agree with me? The last question is that I want to buy a gift to my nephew. I want Gemini to recommend a pair of Nike soccer shoes of the size of 8 for a teenage boy with the link to an image. As expected, Gemini replies with the brand name, the size, and features, which is pretty good. It also shows a link to the image. Let us click the link, but the link is broken, and there is no image shown on this web page. It is surprisingly to learn that Gemini sometimes gives a broken link. That wraps up today's case study. Let us click the button to end the conversation. Next we can click the Save button to save the transcript. We can click the Go to Conversation button on the top right corner to see our questions and Gemini's answers. Here we can see all the questions we just asked and the answers we received from Gemini. They are in pretty good format and easy to read. You also can make a copy and save it for later use. In summary, in today's video, we have shown you how to create a simple chatbot with Voiceflow platform, and integrate the Gemini API to send questions and receive answers to display them to the users. The key step is to use an API block, which is set to be in the post request status. We need to put the Gemini URL with our Gemini API key, and configure other parameters as well. The whole process is no code, and it is easy to build the chatbot with powerful functions, but do not have the limit of token usage. If you like this video, please subscribe and give a thumbs up. If you have any comments and suggestions, please let us know. Thank you for your support.